Hood Canal Communications and MasonWebTV.com present 2016 general election candidates video sit-downs. Here is Diedrich Allen with Randy Neatherlin, candidate for Mason County Commissioner, District 1.
Before I get into my first question, I want you to remind everybody about you, who you are, and why you're seeking re-election.
Okay. My name is Randy Neatherlin. I'm from the North Mason area. I spent 6 years as a port commissioner. I am now the Mason County Commissioner. I started running for this position actually many years ago because I wanted to bring in more law enforcement to get backup for the officers that were on the street. This was many, many years ago, the first time I ever got into politics, in hopes that they didn't have to wait at the end of the road for backup to show up as they were doing, sometimes 2 hours as things were happening. So it was my commitment at the time to try and help them. I didn't win at that point, but later on in life, here I am, and that's been my main concern, along with, of course, the sewer issue, which has plagued Mason County. The debts and the burden that's put on the whole county has been incredible, but I've been very blessed to be able to figure out ways around that. And for the most part, just trying to be the one that represents my community. I'm the first county commissioner from Belfair in 37 years. Right. It's been a long time since the North End had representation, and I've done my best to try and represent them while representing the whole county, because the Attorney General actually gave an opinion years ago that when you are elected by the county as a whole and you deal with the budget for the county as a whole, you are responsible to the county as a whole, so you must represent the whole county, not just one district.
Now, people see no party preference.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
You know, a lot of people would think that just going for independent would be the right way to go, but it's not. People don't realize that independent is actually a party. I am not affiliated with anybody. I used to be a Republican years ago, but because of different personal issues with individuals more than anything else, I moved away from that and decided to stand on my own 2 feet. And I found it to be the best thing I could have ever done, because I'm able to go into both houses. I'm what's considered an equal opportunity offender. I get to go into both houses. I get to deal with their issues and fix their issues without any of the baggage that goes with it. Both of them, yes, get mad at me, but both of them allow me in the house and help me to get done what I need to get done. So it's probably the best thing I could have ever done. Besides that, a Mason County Commissioner or Commissioner as a whole should not have been a partisan position in the first place. I think that it weighed it down by doing that, and it separated the teams. I think it was a bad idea. So again, I'm no party preference because I don't represent any party, just the individual, including the independent party.
And the people?
Yes.
Okay. In your 3.5, nearly 4 years, what are you most proud of to have accomplished?
My proudest accomplishment would have to be my first agenda item. The very first thing that I had on my agenda, and when I was running years ago, was to get 5 new officers onto the Sheriff's Department. And at the time, I remember being interviewed by the Deputies Guild, and when they did, they thought that I was being a little bit unrealistic, thinking I was going to be able to get 5 new deputies. Here it is these years later, and I brought in 8 new deputies. Not only have I brought in 8 new deputies, I brought in 6 new corrections officers, a new chief position, brought in 45 new vehicles, and if you can tell, most of them all been upgraded to SUVs. Their budget used to be $9.7 million in 2012. In 2016, their budget was $14 million. That's a 44% increase. What am I most proud of? I think it would be that, because we did that without even raising taxes these last few years. If you've noticed, your taxes have not gone up, at least from the county. But we prioritized that, and we're able to bring it to the forefront and actually make it happen. I think that's a lot to be proud of.
What would you like to see accomplished in the next 4 years?
We've got some big issues that we're facing here in the county. People don't like to talk about it, but this drug issue that we have, people think of the old meth issue. That's only part of it. We have meth and heroin issues that are rampant throughout this community, just completely rampant. We have to be addressing those, and those issues are coming up in the next few years with bringing facilities here that can handle that and can work with that. That'll also take people out of the jails if we can actually get them treated instead of just using them to handle them. That also goes hand in hand with mental health. Believe it or not, the two end up being connected. When you're mentally unstable, you quite often use other chemicals to stabilize yourself, self-medication, as they call it. Another issue is, many people may not know it, but the Belfair bypass was finally funded. And being able to actually be here and make sure that it gets put through is very important. It came close before, but the commissioner that was pushing it through ended up leaving and resigning, and it went away after she did. And I can't take that chance of letting that happen. We're finally breaking that through, and that'll be an economic boom for all of Mason County. You've got to remember, Belfair doesn't exist. That's not an actual city. Belfair is just an unincorporated part of Mason County. All the taxes that come into Belfair, unlike Shelton, go to Mason County. It's all that retail that you see up there pays for the sheriff's department, pays for the auditors, pays for the treasurer, and every other service that we need in Mason County, and people don't even realize it. It all goes to them. Shelton, being a city, gets to keep all their own, and they take care of only their own. I think that it's important that we keep the economic growth happening there, not just in Belfair, but all through the county. That's another thing that's been extremely important to me. People may not even know it, but currently we've been changing some of the restrictions that it takes to build in this county. It used to take 18 weeks. Now it's taking about 14 days to get through the permit process. Because of that, we're starting to expand again as a county. We ended up taking and putting our public health and our community development together, brought in one person to run it, bringing back customer service back to the community, but at the same time, making it easier to get these things done and to allow for building and economic development to occur. That's something I'd like to make sure that we continue. We've just started that process, just got it through. If we lose it, of course, we can go backwards here in Mason County quickly. And remember, when I came in, unemployment rate was, 11.8, I think it was when I first came in. Things have changed a lot, and we have to continue to bring that down. It was 7.3 in May, then I think it's gone up to 7.9 for the moment. We have Olympic panel products closing down. But we've got to keep ahead of it and keep things moving forward in order to keep our quality of life up where we'd like to be.
You talked about what you have helped get in the sheriff's office. Public safety, obviously a priority. How do you plan to continue to make sure those funds are available in the budget to maintain the criminal justice system?
Well, everything we've done has been done taking all that into consideration. There's a bow wave for any position that you bring in. Whenever we've done the budgets, we've taken that into consideration. In the very beginning, when I first came in, people weren't even aware, but for example, you were around, we had a $2.2 million deficit we had to overcome right away. Well, when we're overcoming that, that keeps you from expanding. Then the next year, it was another $3.2 million because of some past sins of the past commissioners, where they took money out of the ER&R, the Equipment Rental and Revolving Fund, that we all had to pay back again. After taking care of those things and not letting those mistakes happen again, we've had the revenue to be able to do what we've been doing. Last year, we had one of the largest budgets in the county's history, but it wasn't because we taxed more. What it is we found also other ways of bringing in revenue. People aren't aware of some of the things that we've done. For example, we had somebody come in and wanted to buy some property from the county. I don't know if you remember, what was it they were offering, $686 or something at the time. As a realtor, because I'm also a realtor, I don't have time to do any real estate, but I still hold my license. I knew something was wrong with this, trying to buy properties from all over the area. Went out and asked for some pictures of the properties, and come to find out they were timbered. Well, then we had a push still to go ahead and sell it, because that's how we had always done it, and I kept asking that we get a timber cruise. Well, it cost money to get a timber cruise, and nobody wanted to do that, so I had another idea. We went out for non-binding bid, and for the people out there to know where some of our revenue comes from, one-time revenue, that same property, we went out for that non-binding bid, and we got, instead of $686,000, we got $1.28 million just for the logs that were on that property by itself. Plus, they reforested it, they did all the roads themselves, and they did all the surveys themselves. We didn't pay for any of that. So in 30 years, we can do this all again. We still own the property. That was $1.28 million that went into the county that was not something anybody had planned on. We did the same thing with another piece of land that they wanted to purchase for subtitle. And if you remember, we went ahead and sent that out for bid, and we expect our first check to come in, another 2 years from now. We expect it to be close to $3.7 million for gooey duck harvesting. We found new ways of bringing in revenue, but more than that, we've kept the bleeding from happening from old mistakes. Between the two, we've definitely kept in front of it. Now, we don't expect to have the money this next year that we had the last year. We started accumulating money in the bank. We budgeted so well that we ended up with some reserves. But because there were one-time monies we were getting in, we couldn't give them back to the people in the form of tax cuts, because you still have to be able to pay for the employees that you have. So we will have enough to pay for the bow wave that we've already created, and try to continue moving forward to bring services to the community without raising their taxes. Again, we haven't raised our taxes in years.
With jail capacity, do you think continuing to outsource inmates is the best solution, or should the county build its own jail, a larger jail?
Well, first of all, the outsourcing isn't because of the jail per se that we've been dealing with. Two things were happening there. One, the Sheriff's Department lost their female corrections officers, so they weren't able to deal with females any longer. They didn't have enough to do that. So we started sending them off. That doesn't change no matter how many people you put in. Then the sheriff came to the commission and said, if we expend this much money, we can expand the jail from 122 to 144 beds. And that's what we went and did. We went and expended the money to be able to do that. And as it's coming back through, it's been a lot tougher than we would have liked. We never decided on the plan. The sheriff gave us the plan that we moved forward with. But after it was built and being built, they kept running into different issues with their design. So it's taken a while to get that done. After that gets put back into place, then we should be able to handle 144 people again. And if you remember, we weren't doing the women's correction anymore. So we're going to continue to outsource, at least to a point, because of the women's correction issue. But we should be able to handle what we are doing. It's not optimum. We do need to eventually have a discussion and start to consider building a bigger jail. But it's kind of like a briefcase. The bigger the briefcase, the more papers you hold. The bigger the jail, we'll find a way to fill it. And that's not always a good thing, but it's not always bad. We'll get money and revenues from outside sources, such as the state. People don't realize that we've been collecting almost $500,000 by renting out some of the beds in the jail we have to the state. So we had that capacity internally if we needed to keep it internally. But it is a choice. Eventually, though, we do have to do something. Our jail is antiquated, and we just invested, what is the total, another $2.5 million just over the last year and a half, 2 years into that jail to expand it, to fix the HVAC. And I remember when I first came in, the sheriff told me that they have issues with their electronic panel, that they have to physically check each door, because even though the panel they're pushing is saying it's locked, the doors weren't actually getting locked, so we had to replace that. That was $750,000. Now when I came in, he says he's been saying this for years but could never get it done. We got it done. Well, eventually we're going to have a talk about whether or not this community can afford another jail.
If it does this, if you do decide to go forward with a new jail, how would you pay for that? Is that a bond issue? Is it councilmatic, or is it to the voters? No,
there's several different ways that it can be done. One, you can go out for the other 0.2% for the public safety tax, which is on the sales tax. That can be done fairly quickly. There's another 40 cents that the people could levy on themselves if they wanted to have a criminal justice tax. There's another way of doing it, is just going out for a bond on the building. You don't necessarily have to even change the tax, but you have to have the money somewhere to pay for that bond payment. So the question is, do we have enough money in our bank account, what we're currently doing, to invest in that yearly? And remember, just a couple years ago, we were talking about a $2.2 million deficit and a $3.2 million deficit that we all had to overcome. In the future, right now, we've put out all the fires. Now we're seeing where we're sitting, how we can continue in the future. But it's going to be pretty standard for the moment. So it would probably take some type of issue on the ballot to have that discussion. I don't think anybody's prepared just to throw a tax on the people of Mason County. I think our whole belief system has been that we don't believe in adding taxes on them, but we would never deny people the opportunity to burden themselves if that's what they choose, like the Mason County Metropolitan Park District. Not saying that we're for or against it. It's up to the people to decide if they want to burden themselves, because the commission was not interested in doing that. Most of us believe we're taxed enough already.
Do you think the salaries of other elected officials are adequate?
No. They're much better than they were when I first came in. When I first came in, they were extremely low. I know there was a claim that one of the positions hadn't had a raise since 2007, but that turned out not to be accurate. As a matter of fact, that particular position, when I came in, was $83,000. It's now making $90,000. So that's a heck of a raise. We've been able to bring up their wages steadily since we came in. But I understand that they did have some years where they were held back. Currently, if you look at a comparison of our other comparable counties, and they go from different extremes. You have one county that is literally twice our size of those 5 comparable counties that we use. We have other ones that are a little bit larger than us. We have one that's a little smaller than us. To give an example, Lewis County has about 74,000 people. Island County has 84,000 people. Mason County has 62,000 people. Both of their budgets are larger than ours. The sheriff's wage, for example, is 2% different in one, 3% different in another. But then you have another extreme where those that have twice our capacity, at 124,000, where they may be as high as 13% above. With that being said, we've moved very close to our other comparables for everybody, all of the elected officials. I do want to make this clear because I keep reading things about us selecting our own wage. The Mason County Commission, you cannot increase your own wage. You cannot do that. You can only set the wage for the next person that comes in there the next term. I have currently been on a 1% increase since I took on, and I'm not complaining. That's just the way it is. The sheriff currently makes about 12.5% more than the commissioners do. It's just the way it is. The treasurers and the auditor, the coroner, and the assessor, they're closer to about 10% behind the commissioners. Like I said, in other counties, we're really close, but it's still not quite there, but it's come a long ways in the last few years as we've found ways to bring in more revenue.
So what would you suggest to fix it? Or is there an easy fix?
No, to me there is.
Okay.
But you got to remember, my reality and other people's reality, they see their job as being a lot more valuable and a lot more. Everybody does. Everybody in America, when you're sitting there at your desk or you're out there digging a ditch, you think you're worth more money than you're getting paid. That's just the way it is. And if you ask somebody how much it is, if it's coming out of their pocket, that view of how much you should be paid changes. If you're choosing how much it comes out of their pocket, you're going to say you're worth a lot more. It's just the way it works. Personally, I believe that you have 2 counties that are truly comparable to us, and that's Island County and Lewis County. I think that all along their budgets are bigger than ours, their population's a little bigger than ours, but compared to the other counties, they're the ones that are most closely resemble us. You have Island County has all the water and stuff just like we do here. Lewis County, which has all the size and capacity, and the like. Island County, which has 2 incorporated cities where we have one. Lewis County has many others. Their budgets, like I said, are both bigger. I think that we align ourselves with them. I think we pick those 2 counties, we align ourselves with them. That would mean an increase of about 3% for the treasurer and the auditor. They also have a system where they're almost identical to us all the way down the line. They don't have any of the extremes. There's some counties where, for example, the clerk gets paid 19% more. But in Lewis and Island County, it's 3% different. So I believe that we pick counties that are comparable to us. We pick those 2. We just go with the average of what those 2 are, and that's where we put the pay. And this way we are comparable with our other counties and not just always the last one down on the list. The reason why is not because I just want to give these people more money. That's not it. But I can assure you that anytime you have people applying for jobs, the benefit of the job and the value of the job determines those who apply. If you don't pay nothing, then quite often you don't get those to apply that deserve more. It goes the other way around. As we said earlier, we always feel that we have a higher value than the other person that's making the paycheck. I have no idea what it'd be like if we got to choose our own pay.
Randy, I thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, I've tried real hard over the last almost 4 years to represent my community with everything I have. It is a full-time job. people have had many different questions because we have other members that put in a different amount of time, and a matter of fact, because of that, the other two commissioners end up taking on a lot more committees than they normally would have to, and they show up for a lot more meetings. This job, to do it right, is 60 to 80 hours a week, and you can't do it part-time. If you try to do it part-time, somebody's going to lose out, and it's usually going to be the people in the community. And if you do it part-time, somebody else has to pick up your slack, because somebody still has to be at those meetings, somebody still has to represent Mason County, and somebody still has to come up with the solutions to the answers. This job is not just about an opinion. You're supposed to put in the effort. Many people that I see that are elected officials actually believe that we're paying them to have an opinion, but we're not. We're paying them to go out and find the solutions to fix the problem, to actually have an action, not just an opinion. And just showing up to a room is attendance, not participation. As your commissioner, I've hoped over the last 3.5, almost 4 years, my actions have shined a lot louder than any words that I've had. I may not have been the prettiest commissioner, but when they put me in because they expected that I was going to get some stuff done, and that I was going to fix some of the biggest problems overshadowing our community. And I've been very successful at that, and I hope that success makes it so they would like to bring me back.
Okay. Randy Neatherlin, incumbent for Mason County Commissioner, District Number 1. Thank you for taking some time.
Thanks.
Hood Canal Communications and MasonWebTV.com are helping voters make informed decisions.